As Bitcoin's prices continue to get closer and closer to $100,000, we're starting to recognize a pretty extreme drop off in its momentum. Now, I want to talk today about exactly why this drop in momentum is significant, why it's important for you to watch closely, and what I'm doing in my own portfolio as a result of it. So, look, we have a good bit to unpack today. So, let's get straight into it. And, guys, do not forget that if you want to trade a little Bitcoin yourself on up to 500x leverage, you can check out the link down below to BTCC, in which if you sign up today, they're going to give you a 10% bonus on all first-time deposits between $500 and $100,000. Guys, this means if you deposit, say, $90,000, random number, they're going to give you $9,000 on the spot to start trading with today, guys. This is up to $10,000 in free trading money. Do not be silly. Don't pass up on something like that. Head to the link down below. It's a fantastic platform with isolated cross margin and all that good stuff. So feel free to check it out. Let me know what you think. So looking at Bitcoin here, before we talk about why this drop in momentum is so important, let me show you what I'm looking at to identify that's happening in the first place. Now, the first thing that I'm always looking for whenever I'm trying to identify whether or not we're losing momentum, which simply just means that Bitcoin's pump is slowing down, is the RSI. And what I like to do is I actually like to use the 4-hour RSI. It is a very short-term one, so it's not amazing for looking at weeks and weeks and weeks. But when I'm looking at the story of a couple of days or even up to a week or two, it's extremely useful. And what you can see here is that as we have been seeing Bitcoin's price slowly climbing from April 23rd to now, going upwards, that's not the same story with the RSI. Matter of fact, the RSI has been dropping, and it's dropping significantly, guys, falling all the way from the 86% threshold all the way down to the 57% threshold currently, at one point falling to the 48% threshold. What this looks like is this high, and now setting in consistent subsequent lower highs while the price is setting in higher highs. And what you can see here is called a divergence. You see how this is going down and this is going up? That's called bearish divergence. And it's called bearish divergence because it is a little bit bearish. Generally, this means that the move that we're making is losing strength, is losing momentum, and it's usually going to be unable to continue much further before seeing some sort of correction or some sort of pullback. And so this is a very important metric to look at, and it is one of the best ones. Another one that I like to look at is the daily Bollinger Band width. Okay, look, let me get this pulled up here. Boom. The daily Bollinger Band width is going to be this blue line that you can see right here. Okay, and what this does is it tells you a story of volatility. Now remember, volatility just means whether or not crypto is being crazy or not. When this blue line is going up, crypto is getting more crazy. When this blue line is going down, crypto is getting less crazy. And what you can see is that for a while, as we were starting to see the Bitcoin price really giving us some gains, we were seeing this blue line going upwards. But over the last week or so, we're starting to see that picture change. And what you can see is that this blue line is consistently trending downwards, now officially in a micro downtrend. And what this tells us is that the market is stabilizing. It's slowing down. It's losing momentum. And so when you compare the fact that we're losing this volatility at the same time that we're losing this strength as a result of what we're seeing on the 4-hour RSI, it definitely paints the picture to me that we are seeing, of course, the Bitcoin price slowing down and losing momentum. Now, is this a bad thing in general? Like, is it something you should be worried about? No, of course not. It's not that big of a deal. It is rather normal, okay? What you have to understand is that as Bitcoin gets higher and higher and higher, it's going to be harder and harder and harder for it to continue that momentum. That is normal. In addition to that, it has made a fantastic job. I mean, you look at the Bollinger Bands itself, and we are pushed towards the top side of those Bollinger Bands, so it is natural that you're going to see a bit of a slowdown. You look at your macro chart in general. We get rid of all these drawings. You look at what's happening here, for example, right? Bitcoin is at the golden zone. Do you guys remember what I say about the golden zone every video, basically? It is the hardest level to break through that there is in crypto. And so the fact that we are overextended and we're pushing up into the golden zone, of course it's normal that you're going to see a bit of a slowdown here, that you're going to see a little bit of a weakening here. That is just what happens. And so I'm not saying that Bitcoin slowing down and losing momentum is something you should be scared of. Start to make some implications. Now, these implications to me are that at any given point, Bitcoin might see a pullback. And I think it's becoming much, much, much more likely these days. Could it still run to say $101,000? Of course it can. But I'm not under the belief that Bitcoin's going to push to a new all-time high without seeing a correction or consolidation or some sort of pullback. Now, listen, it could. I'm just saying I don't think it will. And that's the best I can do, right? The best I can do is just give you my opinion. And no, I don't think it will. I think there's more and more of a growing chance that Bitcoin is going to give us some sort of pullback as a result of this loss of momentum. Look, there are major levels of resistance back above us. There are huge resistance points that we're going to have to clear. And the reality is, as well, there are massive liquidations building up below us. Remember, if you see a bunch of liquidations in the red, it means you are at risk of pulling back at any given moment. And when you look at the 7 day, look at this $6.7 billion in liquidations. If Bitcoin just goes to 91K, guys, that looks like this. Just this could liquidate $6.7 billion worth of people. And so when you have all those liquidations sitting below you, yeah, of course, you might just mess around and see Bitcoin's price come back down and start hunting down those liquidations. And don't even get me started on how many liquidations we're seeing on the 30 day. We're pushing upwards to 14 billion back at 85,000. And so when you have all these people FOMOing in and hoping and praying that Bitcoin's just going to keep rallying while we're seeing clear signs that its strength is being lost and momentum is falling, it does kind of make me feel as if at any given moment we really might fall off a cliff here and see a decent sized pullback for Bitcoin for what could be anywhere from 5 to 10%. And so, with this in mind, knowing that it is a possibility, not a guarantee, but a possibility, what am I doing? Well, I'm taking a little bit of profit off the table. What I went ahead and did is I closed another 2% of my entire crypto portfolio completely in profits to close down again another piece of the portfolio here. What you can see is my buy sell bubble chart, which of course my green bubbles are when I've been buying and my red bubbles are when I've been selling. And you can see this was actually the third time just within this move that I have taken profits. I identified that we were starting to hit a bit of a peak here. We started to see the slowdown here. Now we're seeing the drop in momentum here. And so I have been taking profits within this key level because again, it is now at risk of seeing some sort of pullback. And the higher that we get, I'm going to continue to implement the same strategy of taking more and more profits and probably redeploying some of that profit if/when we do get this higher low, because I do believe it's going to happen at some point. We've of course had the breakout of this structure. We've had the higher high. Now comes the higher low. And at some point, we're very likely going to see a bit of a higher low. And I want to be able to redeploy some of my profits that I've taken right here back in at those lower levels to try to compound that growth even more. And so right now, listen, I'm just going to continue to take smaller and smaller amounts of profits as we continue to go upwards and lock in those profits for the portfolio. It's not me thinking that crypto can't go up. It's me being smart and being aware that the higher we go, the more risky it becomes to continue to not take profits. Okay. And if you want to see when I'm taking profits, when I'm reinvesting, when I'm buying, selling, trading, and much more, head to the link in the description down below. I actually announced that I took profits yesterday at 5 a.m. That was over 24 hours ago to the community. And so if you want access to be able to see when I'm doing these things in real time, as well as access to workshops, live streams, classes, daily analysis, daily reports, daily research, and much more, head to the link to the school down below, because our mission at the school is very simple. We take crypto investors like yourselves and we give you the tools that you need to create a real strategy. Because the truth is, guys, a strategy is what creates a winning investor. It is not the other way around like many people think. And I define a winning investor as someone who's confident and someone who's consistent. And so if you feel like you lack one of those two things, head to the link down below. Go check it out. And the best part is if you don't see growth within your first couple hours, I'll just give you your money back. I think that's a fair trade. So check that out down below and keep your eyes peeled right now, because listen, the crypto market is losing steam. And although it might continue upwards and we might get to 101, 105, maybe even $110,000, the likelihood of a pullback is getting higher and higher and higher. And so I'm going to plan accordingly by continuing to take profits, and it'll be bigger amounts of profits the higher we go. So of course, I will continue to update you as this all does play out. But of course, I hope you guys have enjoyed today's video. Do not forget, if you want to trade a little Bitcoin and many more yourself today, head to the link to BTCC down below and you can get that 10% deposit bonus. And I can't wait to see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.